Thankful Thursday.
Thankful Thursday. Hi, I'm Audrey.
And I'm Christina, and welcome to this week's Thankful Thursday, where we get to talk to an inspiring teacher.
You can't see anybody else except us?
Yeah. That means we're talking to Audrey. Yay! And Audrey, you have been incredibly inspiring and continue to be incredibly inspiring in my life. Yes. Let's run into and start these conversations. So what got you into yoga? What's your yoga story?
Well, it's quite interesting because I'd always had this feeling that I would, at some stage in my life, do yoga. Mm-hmm. So, but it took me about 40 years. I was nearly 40 when I first started. And then it just occurred that one day I was living in a remote part of New Zealand teaching, and I happened to notice that in the local paper a night class for yoga was advertised at the local high school. And I thought, oh great, they're starting a yoga class, I'll go along. And I did, and I loved it, but actually the yoga class had been going for some years, and it was just that was the first time that I'd noticed it. You know, so sometimes the timing is right.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're ready, the teacher appears, hey?
Absolutely. And so even though I didn't feel that confident, I loved it. I loved moving my body. I was the kind of person that I couldn't belly breathe. I didn't even know what that meant, to kind of breathe into my belly. I was definitely a chest breather. And when I was stepping back or putting my leg behind me, I really had to actually look to see where my leg was. Was it straight behind me or was it out to the side? I had so little understanding about where my body was in space.
Yeah, it's definitely a gift of yoga, hey?
But yeah, I just loved it from the first moment. I just knew that it was something that I needed to keep doing. And from that day, I really have kept doing it.
Yeah.
Not every day, especially at the beginning. I didn't start with it everyday practice. But wherever I went after that, I was always looking for another class to go to.
So what has kept you going with yoga then? Like, what is the thing about yoga that made you keep coming back?
Finally, I found something that made me feel good in my body. That it didn't matter what my body looked like, but here was something where I was practicing doing things with my body. I'd never felt that before. In any other sort of physical activity, and previous to that I'd always been reliant on my thinking brain and my ability to talk well or read books or discuss things, and suddenly with yoga I found that I could actually appreciate my body for being a great functioning organism. And I could do things, and I could, enjoy moving my body. Yeah. So I just think that, I was able to start loving myself a lot more. Yeah,
beautiful. It's such a great benefit, isn't it? So I love it how you're segueing into the questions. So how has your life transformed because of yoga?
Yes, well, really, well, I just saw a little post on Facebook the other day that said it was 11 years ago, actually this week, since I taught my first class, and that was thanks to you.
Wow, 11 years.
11. Yeah. So, well, I'm basically working towards becoming a full-time yoga teacher.
Yeah.
So, from being a school teacher in a primary school, working with kids, I'm really moving my life and shifting my life into teaching yoga. I definitely have a daily practice now, which I didn't used to have. My body's stronger and a different shape.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I've worked through issues of having arthritis in my hips, so I've got 2 replacement hips in my body, but I've worked through the downhill slope as they got sorer and sorer, and then the uphill as I got back to being flexible, and I'm probably more active now than I was beforehand. So my life is completely transformed. Even the bit of my life where I still had another job, I was definitely sleeping better. I had a better understanding of the stresses and things in my life and how I could mitigate those. I enjoyed doing some of those tough new poses. You know, I love doing handstands. Didn't ever do them as a kid, but you know, when you first do your handstand when you're in your 40s, I thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That is like, woo!
I know.
It's a breakthrough moment.
Yeah. So I just think that it's that connection again. To me as a physical person, and me as this wonderful, adorable human being who can do all sorts of things and not be put in a box by the rest of society. I can actually just be me. Yeah. And yoga gives me that freedom to do that.
Beautiful, the freedom to be you. Now, you mentioned you're moving towards becoming a full-time yoga teacher, so transitioned out of primary school teaching. So why teaching? Why go from being a student to a teacher? What's the benefit there?
Oh, I just love sharing the things that I have found in yoga with other people, giving them the taste of knowing that they're perfect the way they are, wherever they are, and whatever they're doing is perfect. That showing up on your mat is 80% of it. That wherever you are today is not a reflection of where you will be tomorrow or where you were yesterday. Today's the most important day. And I just think that community of spirit, of people all moving together. Basically, most of the classes I teach are basically just the asana. A little bit of philosophy along the side just to keep them going. But really the you know, I say to people, you don't need to worry how you are on the mat. Everybody gets so focused on the mat doing their thing with their bodies. And I think that's just it's such a joy for me to share that with other people. That's why I love teaching. And I suppose because teaching's kind of in my blood or whatever, it's just a natural progression. And I love the fact that people come to me because they want to. You know, it's not, you know, they're not lined up at school because they're 5 and they have to come to school.
They're coming because you're a great teacher and they love the experience of doing yoga with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I know that to be true. So how has your practice evolved over the years? Like if we're rewinding 11 years ago, you were starting to teach. How has it changed?
Yeah. I certainly have a better understanding of the different limbs of yoga. I've certainly expanded my sort of philosophical knowledge and my understanding of where yoga came from, and that yoga, although in the modern world is people mostly think about the poses, is actually, you know, ways of living your life and being a good human. You know, withdrawing the senses so you're beginning to meditate or just take a moment out of the world. And I think that connecting to your higher self or your soul is something that's really developed to me. It's sort of probably been I kind of want to do this with my hands because as I've moved through my life, it's sort of, I've understood that there's been a spiritual component. You know, I was brought up in a Christian church and definitely had connections to that, but I sort of feel that yoga works really well alongside some of those things, and you know, allows me to be the teacher that I want to be, because I do want to teach people how to live a good life and how they're perfect the way they are, and that really love is all around us and that's all there is. So
isn't it?
yeah. So I think that from me definitely learning how my body works and what it can do and where it is in space, you know, and then the strength and flexibility things that are the practical body things. But I think it's definitely moving into the more how you live your life well practices that have really changed in my life.
Yeah, and that's quite a big transition, isn't it? Like to go from I'm just turning up for the physical to then, wow, this is about a whole of life kind of practice. So obviously we believe that yoga is essential for lasting and positive transformation and change in our lives. So how about you talk a little bit to that? Like, why do you believe that?
I think for me it's in my body. It you know, and that's maybe why people do get attracted to yoga from the physical point of view to start with. That all of a sudden, when you're really doing the moves and the movements in yoga, all of a sudden you're connecting to your body. And in this kind of world, you know, you can get brought up where you really think your body is something that you don't like very much. It's the wrong shape, it's the wrong colour, it's the wrong height, it's too fat, it's too thin, it's too whatever, or it's not enough. And I think that the transformation, when you really realise that you are perfect exactly with the way you are, and that the things you can do today on the mat are perfect, that is really such a key life skill that you can take off the mat and know that you're perfect whatever you're doing. You're doing your utmost to fulfill whatever expectations are happening of you in each moment of the day, and you're doing your utmost. No, nobody goes to work to do a bad job, you know. No. And it's those almost, although it's both sides. It's the tiny littlest thing of being able to stand with your feet parallel, to being able to step into the world, to know that your work and whatever work you do is the best you can do. You know, so it's that taking the wee microcosm of the way you move in yoga, and then you get the opportunity to use the idea that I can stand tall with my feet parallel in yoga, so I can walk into that room and feel okay. Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Brings a tear to the eye almost, eh?
It does.
Yeah, go on.
Because, that's the thing though, the practice on the mat, you're different after you've done the practice on the mat, and you go out into the world and you walk into those rooms with a completely different state of being. So now you're becoming a full-time yoga teacher, you're creating yoga to transform. So what is your highest offering? What is the highest calling and offering of you, Audrey? Yeah,
well, I really think that I just really want to transform everybody's life. Let's just go right out there. Everybody can transform their lives with yoga. How about that? All right. It's a bit like making ads for Facebook, isn't it? You know, well, what audience shall we select? Oh, well, all women.
Yeah.
And I think probably, just as I said that, you know, I think that as a woman who's coming into her 60th year and into you know, coming into a more mature age. I don't know what all that means really. But I think that the good thing about you know, my highest offering is that, hey, if I'm doing it, you can too.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, what you're doing, how it looks, how it feels. At the moment, I can offer something to you to make you do yoga. Make you do it. Get your head out and do it.
There's that primary school teacher coming out.
Yeah. So I just think that's our, I think together that's our passion, is that we know that it is just such a great thing, and we are going to be able to transform people's lives. So just get on the program, girlfriend.
But even like if you extend beyond the physical practice, like through the practice of yoga, you can touch and transform the whole world and make a positive impact. And it doesn't even mean that someone needs to be doing yoga. It means that maybe someone's come to a yoga class, they've felt compelled to be of service, and then they donate some money to feed a starving child in Africa. Whatever it might be, there's this ripple effect, hey, that moves out from the goodness of the feeling that you get from the practice. That's right.
Or they might talk to somebody else who needs to go to yoga or do something else, so that, you know, I remember a friend saying to me, you know, we joked about it because, you know, if you were a model and you were in the Miss World or whatever, you know, world peace was something that you know, what do you want to do? Oh, world peace. And we were saying, well, actually, even if you're just on your own praying and meditating about world peace and expressing joy, your simple devotional practice actually does change the world.
Yes.
So that I might not even be, you know, there's millions of people that I'll never talk to, but through my devotional practice, there'll be a change in the world.
Yes, there will be. It's that the butterfly's wings flapping causes tsunami somewhere else.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I think your devotional practice is causing a huge change in the world. So thank you, Audrey, for being such an inspiring teacher.
Thanks, Christina.
Namaste. Namaste.